Hey there, you just got into medical school. Congratulations. You took a lot of effort. You're finally here. Your friends are happy. Your family's happy. You're happy. Everyone's having a great, happy, fun time. I don't really want to rain on that parade, but there are certain things you should probably know before you get into this. Hey guys, my name's Edward. Uh, I graduated medical school back in 2020. I've been unemployed since, due to various bureaucratical issues that have gone in my way, but I'm not here to talk about that. Uh, when you get into medical school, they don't really tell you a lot of things, and I kind of wanted to shed some light on the not so prettier aspects of this career choice, so as to A, as a creative outlet, and B, if it helps somebody else, in my place, then, all the more good. So, without further delay, these are 7 things I wish I knew before I started medical school. Now, thing number one, uh, is this something you really want? Like, you yourself really want? Because there's a lot of people, right? Like, throughout my career, like my academic career, I've met so many fellow med students, my grads, whatever, uh, who got in just because their parents wanted them to. They didn't really want to do it themselves, but familial pressure kind of pushed them into a career that they're probably not going to be very happy doing. I mean, it's a very long, long career, and it never really stops. It's something I would say you should only pursue if you can see yourself doing anything else. Uh, Hell, I used to think that way, but a lot of things happened in my own life that ended up making me rethink my choices in the last few years. So that's really something you should. That's the first thing you have to kind of set and like go through, is whether it's really your choice at play here, right? And if it is so, on to point number two, the time frame. Medical school takes a long, long time, right? We're talking years. From it's like what, 6 to 8 years, Uh, something like that, right? I mean, my university was 6 years. I know in the U.S. it's 4 years, but you also gotta do pre-med before that. So it about 6 years, right? Let's say, give or take. That's a long amount of time. The person you are right now, s- signing up for medical schools and enrolling, you're not the same person that you are gonna be 6 years down the line. You're gonna be a completely different person. Your biology is gonna be different. Your neurochemistry is gonna be different. You're a completely other person. Not to mention, medical school itself and its effects on you, the stress and whatnot. And you gotta be aware, and from the moment you enroll to graduation to getting your license to work as a physician, it's to the first day working in the hospital. And then, there's residency, uh, it's never ending, is what I'm trying to say. You might think, okay, this is how long I study, and then, I'm done, but you're really not, and you keep going, right? It keeps on going. So are you really aware of the time frame we're talking about? Are you really aware to dedicate your whole life to this? Is th- what I, uh, really want to get across, because your priorities could change, your wants could change a lot, right? Come back to that. Unless you're absolutely aware and you make certain checkpoints of your progress mentally, like this is where you see yourself 6 years down the line. This is where you see yourself with this when you see yourself finishing residency. you're gonna feel very lost, and you really have to be aware of the timeline, make sure you have a plan. Now, speaking of getting your license and starting practice, let's talk a little bit about the bureaucracy of gaining employment, right? One thing I came to realize is that your skill level is not really as relevant as the recognition of your university, where you studied, which country, where you come from yourself, and where you wish to practice. Now, in most cases, if you know you're a medical student entering a university in your own country and you wish to practice there, this is a very simple process, right? It's very straightforward. However, say you are a foreign national going to a country to study medicine and then you want to return back, there's a certain level of bureaucracy, right? Where you, okay, you give your licensing exams. However, uh, different factors come into play. Let's take, for example, India. Now, according to the MCI Council, the Medical Council of India, uh, if you start your medical schooling somewhere, you have to finish it in the same university. Therefore, if you say you had to transfer out due to various reasons, it doesn't matter if it was like, you know, your last year, if it was in your first year, because you didn't complete your entire education in one place, you are ineligible to give the licensing exams. Therefore, all the hard work you put into, you're not gonna be able to do anything with it back home. So your only options would be to, you know, try and gain employment in the country you graduated or try elsewhere. Again, which is why, you know, your degree recognition, where you studied matters a lot. uh, Now, if you wanted to immigrate outside, of course, same thing, right? You have to know whether A, your university is recognized, what is the procedure, and what it's going to be like to do your internship, right? Because in most places, they do require you to do your internship in your country of origin. You can't really go to a different country to do your internship. The one thing you could possibly do is if you're going somewhere to study medicine, learn the language. This is something I will uh, emphasize a lot on. Learn the local language, finish your internship there if possible, because you've built connections. You have connections with your university, with your professors, the residents, whatnot. Use that to your advantage. Do your internship there, and then you know if you want to immigrate out, you can. But if you're we only, you know, if you're certain you're gonna go back, then you know go forward with that plan. But keep this in mind when you're going outside to study medicine. Moving on to the next topic, which is the kind of workplace harassment you will face, right? Now, this varies country to country. I'm not going to paint everything with the same brush. However, there is at least in India, as far as I know, international medical graduates are generally looked down upon because the medical field here is really competitive. So I guess there is this feeling of, oh, you couldn't make it here, that's why you had to go out, or you were too poor to, you know, get into school here, so that's why you had to go out and whatnot. And there's certain discrimination. Of course, this vanishes after a couple of years when you're fully practicing, and you know you have your private practice. However, when you're first starting out, this can be very, very difficult to deal with. Uh, and it's something that you will generally face when starting out. A lot of harassment, power harassment, bullying, hell, even sexual harassment happens in the field, right? Uh, it it does happen enough that it's something to you know make sure you know. While we were talking about workplace harassment and politics and whatnot, it actually brings me to my next point of the mental stress that you go through, right? Uh, Do you know that medical professions have one of the higher rates of suicide as compared to other professions? On top of that, there is rampant substance abuse in the field. Uh, the, the, a lot of the doctors I've met have tend to be alcoholics, and it's not really something that can be talked about, right? Because there's the fear of losing your license is something that is so intense because imagine everything you worked for just vanishing because you chose to seek help, or you couldn't handle the pressure, and you're stuck in the situation where you have to do your service, but at the same time you can't really get help for the trauma that doing the service causes you, right? Because, well, what if they stop you from like being able to see patients? Well, you can't do your job anymore. You're uh, kind of in a messy situation, right? And they don't really tell you about like alternate fields either, right? It's like, oh, you're a doctor, that's what you do, you doctor, or same for other medical professionals as well. I just using doctor for the sake of it, but it's the same thing, right? Like you're never really told about alternate pathways. It's it's something you kind of like fall into when you're going through burnout, I guess. Which again, burnout syndrome, right? That's a common issue uh, among the medical professions, and it's something that you have to be ready for because burnout happens to almost everyone. That's just when, right? I mean, you surround yourself with death and decay on a regular basis. It, sure, you might be able to compartmentalize it, but eventually it's going to take a toll, right? You're going to have to pay the price at some point. Uh, that's just how it is, I guess. And it's not really something that you can prepare yourself for, right? In a way, uh, it's you just kind of like deal with it as you work, I guess. And to which brings me to my next point, right? The fact that you're trying to provide a public service versus at the same time this is still a business, right? You're still doing this is a job that you're doing to pay your bills, and while it is something that's very noble and important. You're like the first line of that gets affected like in any kind of like major crisis situation. It's still a job, and you're still going to have to, you know, you still have bills to pay, and I like think about working in the American healthcare system, for example. It's a perfect example of having a constant battle of your own mental consciousness versus the healthcare system that you have to work with, right? Uh, I mean, I don't really know what to say about that. It's just a mess, and it sounds like a not good time. Uh, Now, the final thing that I really want to talk about is the time, right? The amount of compromises that you have to make because your life will be dedicated to this. You will have to make familial compromises, miss friends, like weddings, events, things that, matter to you will have to be kept on the back burner because you could be called in the middle of the night to rush to the hospital because your patient needs you. You could have to leave an event uh, in the middle because your patient needs you, and you can't just say, no, let somebody else handle it. No, that is your duty, that is your job, and you have to be there. And it's, you're always gonna have to put the needs of your patients above your own, above your family, above your friends. And it's something that I'm not really sure if I'm gonna be making further videos medically related or not. I mean, a few, but uh, I hope you enjoyed, and uh, see you next time, I guess.